Nothing I did was working. The more I tried, the more out of control my eating became. Then, I did something I hadn't tried before. I became a savvy detective and figured things out. If I can do it, so can you. Find out more at solveyouroutofcontrol.eating.com.
Hi, welcome to Solve Your Out of Control Eating. We're here to solve some new mysteries. I'm Michelle Holtzberger, clinical social worker, and with me is my dear friend Vicki Todd, child and adult psychoanalyst and eating disorder specialist.
We're so glad you could be here with us today because we're going to sit in on Lydia's therapy session, and that will lead us to discussion of her weekend binges. We're going to try to uncover clues like the detectives that we are, and we're going to see if we can figure out what's driving her behavior. And we're also going to throw in some actionable tips to help you or someone you know if you struggle to.
Sounds good. All right, and somehow we're going to try and make this fun, right, Vicki?
That's right.
All right, let's get started. Here's Lydia.
What a frustrating weekend. I was supposed to be grading papers, but I couldn't focus or even sit still. I just kept making trips to the refrigerator and eating whatever I could get my hands on.
Wonder what was going on.
I don't know. Not much new at work. Well, actually, there is. I'm on the ballot for the Teacher of the Year award, first time for a science teacher. We don't get many props.
Congratulations.
Thank you. When the principal announced the nominees, he said I was known for my high standards and creative assignments, and that made me smile. And I do enjoy most of the interactions with my students. Boosts my confidence and makes me feel good. But what makes me feel terrible are my weekend binges. Ugh. Totally out of control, mindless eating.
I'm not sure I buy the mindless eating, Lydia, because I think eating is an important communication about something that needs to be understood.
We're even then because I don't buy the important communication.
Can we just give it a try? Maybe tell me about last weekend?
Sure, I was perfectly fine all week long, ate healthy, worked out, and I had the weekend all planned out in my head. I would stick to my meal plan, log my water intake, and take an afternoon hike on Saturday. Then I had to get busy because I had papers to finish grading before Monday. But on Friday night, I started to feel agitated. I made trip after trip to the refrigerator. Finally, I gave up and pigged out on some ice cream. But I did pull myself together on Saturday morning and I went to yoga. Then I graded a few papers before I left for my hike. I love Metro Park. I spent 2 hours walking around. The weather was so perfect, and everyone was out and about, and I really enjoyed being out in nature. Plus, it's good exercise. But when it was time to go home, that's when everything fell apart.
Fell apart?
Well, for one thing, I was too tired to cook, and the iceberg salami with chickpeas wasn't cutting it, so I ordered pizza. No sooner had I opened the pizza box, and bam! I ate the whole thing. And I didn't stop there. I went in and lied down on the couch, zoned out watching TV, chomping on pretzels and peanut M&Ms till I finally fell asleep. Sunday wasn't much better because I totally felt hungover, like a food hangover. But I forced myself to grade papers and I mindlessly munched away on chips after chips. Ugh. And that's how my weekends go. Like a scene from the movie Groundhog Day. I eat a plethora of healthy foods during the week and a standard selection of junk food on the weekends.
Well, I notice how you're focusing on the food. I'm not really hearing much about your feelings.
I'm not much of a feely person. Food is all I think about on the weekends. I wish you would teach me some behavioral tricks to deal with my ravenous appetite.
I bet you know more tricks than I do.
I know about keeping a food journal. putting your fork down between bites, brushing your teeth, and stuff like that, but I can't do any of them.
Something just gets in the way?
Yes,
Wonder what it is.
I don't have a clue.
All right, welcome back. Well, what do you think about Lydia?
Boy, let's just start out by, she starts out by acknowledging her frustration, and I certainly felt it. Did you, Michelle?
Yeah, I just felt like there was so much more to the story, and she just kept saying how she wasn't buying it, that there was more to the story, and it was so obvious there was more to the story.
Exactly.
I was like, come on, girl, you can
I
do
know it. I know. I mean, here she is. She can't focus on grading papers. She's too busy eating. She doesn't know why. But I was so struck by how highly she functions during the week.
this.
I
Right.
mean, she eats healthy, she works out. She certainly does exemplary on the job. I mean, she's up for the Teacher of the Year award. She's known for high standards, creative assignments. She enjoys most of the interactions with her students, but she hates these weekend binges.
And during that time, she did say she couldn't focus, she couldn't sit still. She's talking about feeling agitated, like falling apart. I mean, when someone has falling apart feelings, we know there's definitely more to the story, right?
Exactly. Falling apart feelings are, in technical terms, called annihilation anxiety.
Annihilation. That's a pretty scary
Annihilation.
word.
That's the falling apart, Michelle. Usually people say, I just felt like I was falling apart. They're talking about annihilation anxiety, and that's the most severe form of anxiety. It's very early in life anxiety. And to be honest, it goes with eating disorders.
So early in life, like that shrill cry of a baby, like I have no one to take care of me. Everyone's gone. I'm all alone, like complete freak out.
Exactly. And how a mother deals with that baby is she holds her tight.
Hmm.
She holds her tight. But who holds an adult tight? Especially, this is a single woman. It reminds me there was a boy I worked with, and his mom would he would get very agitated. And in response, the mother would outdo him. She would get even more agitated.
Oh,
And she was not holding him at all, either with her words or her body, nothing. So, and he did very well in his therapy sessions. Well, his mother later told me that about this new behavior he had come up with. When he got so upset, there was a little space between the toilet, the commode, and the wall. And he would squeeze in there. So he had
so
found,
sad. So
I
he was
know,
giving
I know.
himself his safe comfort hug in the bath.
Yes, it was his holding environment.
Right,
I was his holding environment.
right,
And when he couldn't be with me, he found one.
right.
Well, Lydia is a very anxious woman who doesn't have any holding environment at this point,
Okay,
yet,
right.
yet being the key word. So she has her whole weekend planned. She has it in her head. But she starts feeling agitated on Friday night. Now, boy, do I hear about this from some of my patients. They do well all week long with the structure that work provides, but they have a very hard time providing their own structure.
Well, that would explain why the weekends were so hard, because it's this loose time. When she goes to work, she has to be in her class, she has to be with her students. So the week can be very orderly and structured, and she can handle her food accordingly.
Right. You know what this reminded me of, Michelle, when you and I worked in residential treatment. Now, we don't know Lydia's history, but those kids in residential treatment were very anxious. They had been abused, they were traumatized. And for children or adults with that sad kind of history of abuse, neglect, trauma, whatever it is, there's nothing more soothing to these worried, anxious children than routine. And where we worked, it was like a GI approach. You get up, you wash your face, you brush your teeth, you comb your hair, get dressed, make your bed, and
Right.
so it goes. There's no surprises. You always know what's going to happen. And 3 p.m., afternoon snack.
Yeah, and you know what I was just remembering is the afternoon snack was even predictable because it was always fruit, so they could choose between an apple and an orange. So even then, they knew that they weren't getting cookies or anything. They knew that they had to
Right,
pick their fruit snack, and they were planning ahead of which one they wanted. Yeah,
exactly. So, what we're both saying here is that routine is soothing, and an open ended nothingness makes a lot of people very anxious.
right.
Lydia functions very well during the week, but on the weekend, open ended nothingness, she's not able at this point to provide her own structure.
Right. And she tried. I mean, she really did. So
Really
I give
did.
her a lot of credit. I mean, she made herself go for a walk. She pre-planned her meal, but there was just something that was too much for her. And
Exactly.
she had to
And
do
you and I both know it's something significant, even
right.
though she doesn't acknowledge it. She can't let herself know at this point. But she goes home Friday night. Okay, she's in front of the TV, she's eating ice cream. Then she pulls herself together on Saturday morning and she goes to yoga. Now, my thoughts after I had heard this through is yoga, she's around people. She's not alone anymore. So she goes to yoga, then she has to go back home. And then she has her afternoon walk. So she scheduled that. And again, she talks about everybody's out. It's such a wonderful day today. Everybody's out walking around, lots of people. So she's around people. Then she talks about going home when the wheels totally came off the bus. That's when she really started to struggle.
Well, it's in part two where we begin to uncover some more of the feelings. So I think we want to invite everyone, if you're struggling with something similar, stick around for Lydia part two, because we're going to uncover what's behind all this.
Yes. And right down to the very end in Lydia part one, the therapist is trying to get her to focus on feelings, and she just absolutely denies. I'm not a feely person. So let's wrap this up and see what happens in her next session.
Thanks for joining us for Lydia's therapy session and debrief. Consider joining us for part two, where we learn a lot more about Lydia and gain some really good insights. And if this episode resonated with you, don't forget to follow Solve Your Out of Control Eating on Spotify so you don't miss future episodes. And for more insights, grab our book on Solve Your Out of Control Eating, which is available now on Amazon. And you can also visit our website for more resources and tools. And as always,
Keep searching for clues.